reached out to Jason yesterday and said, listen, I won't be able to make it because we have a previous engagement. Yeah. But I asked him now that my email's correct. Maybe. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. I'd rather hear the win than lose.
Okay.
Say that out loud.
Great. Good. And you know it.
We didn't have a closing song, so we're just gonna throw in the Nava Tehillah Oseh Shalom at the end. Is that cool?
Sounds very cool. And you want to do that like after Kiddush? Right, okay.
I love that,
Yeah,
when people
yeah.
go away kind of snapping.
Yeah.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom. Good to see you. I guess we're gonna be,
Well, we should start because it is 7, so.
okay.
Not my fault.
Wasn't making any, it was
I come whenever I'm asked.
I know. Well, I was enjoying it, so.
I know, thank you, Rabbi.
Yeah. All right.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom to our friends here, friends at home, and elsewhere. I'm going to start up with a Hine Matov, but this is our Flashback Friday, so we're going to be doing some of the oldies but goodies.
Page 8.
Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. shevet achim gam yachad, hine ma tov. shevet achim gam yachad, hine ma tov u'manayim. shevet achim gam yachad, hine ma tov u'manayim. shevet achim gam yachad. Bim bam, bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, hey, Shabbat shalom, hey, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom. Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, cherry berry berry bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom to all of you who are joining us virtually. So glad to be here together. If you're new to Temple Bethel, just to know, if you need to use a restroom, it's down the hall all the way to the end, and there's a water fountain right there as well. And it's possible that upon entering this chapel, you may hear the call of God. And on the other hand, it's not likely that he'll contact you by phone. So thank you for turning off your phone or silencing it. And if you'd like to talk to God, there'll be plenty of times during the service for a quiet place to reach out and talk. If you'd like to see God, then send him a text while you're driving. Well, it's great to be together. And when we were singing Bim Bam, I was just here in this very spot this morning at about 9:30 a.m. singing this with a bunch of 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds as part of the ECCs, and we're doing the Bim Bams with the hands. And it's always a huge rush of joy to be with these beings who are so real and so open to joy. And there's something about Bim Bam with the Shabbat Shalom and hey, and I'm just feeling it around here that it's this opportunity to just to just open up and just be real and be open. You know, all through the week, we move through the week with a lot of armor around, a lot of, you know, just to deal with, you know, all of the stuff of life going through. And one of the consequences of that armoring is that we don't touch life so deeply. We skate around on the surface of things. And yet there's this world that we're a part of is so deep and so beautiful. And so that's what we're opening to on Shabbat. That's what Shabbat is giving us, that opportunity. In a little bit, we're going to sing Lecha Dodi. And one of the interesting things about Lecha Dodi is it uses the word Panei Shabbat Nekabalah, which means the face of Shabbat will receive. And the word for face in Hebrew is panim. It shares the same root as peninim, which means inside. So face and inside is part of the same Hebrew root. In some ways on Shabbat, we're saying we want our face, how we express, how we present, to really reflect what's going on inside, our real nature beyond all the stuff of life. And so that's really what our intention of our service is tonight, to sing, to open up, to settle down, and have this Shabbat space. So to begin and bring in Shabbat, I want to invite up Debbie and Hector in honor of their 40th anniversary.
Wow.
41st anniversary.
Wow.
To
Mazel
lead us in the
tov.
lighting of candles. I want to invite everybody to stand as we bring Shabbat in.
Can you tell you hear him? Funny. Oh, I like this lighter. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen.
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 And just while you're still here, besides you celebrating your anniversaries, everybody else, you may be seated. We're also celebrating anniversaries of Ronald Berman and Lisa Eisner, Alan and Lisa Fenning, James and Elizabeth Fraser, Harold and Millie Goldschmidt, Raymond and Deborah Jankowski, Alan Kirschenbaum and Ellen Kubo, Laura and Brian Phillips, Scott and Ava Plosker, Ellen and Duncan Prince, Larry Schultz and Sheila Rubenstein, Elliot and Deborah Sternberg, Audrey and Nick Tomovich, Stu and Marcy Urquhart, Justin and Allison Ward, and Merritt and Andrew Weiss.
Wow.
So if any of you are tuning in with us this month of April, if you're tuning in with us and you're celebrating an anniversary, we're doing it with you. So a blessing for all of you. May God, who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and our mothers, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless these couples. Guide them further on their life's journey. Together, let them find favor in the eyes of those who see them together, and let them continue to build a Jewish home worthy of praise, where they will find tranquility in their hearts and in their lives. May their endeavors be blessed. God, source of all life, bless this couple. May the love that binds them be strong and lasting, and let their hearts be filled with patience and understanding for one another. May their home continue to be a sanctuary built on devotion to God, Torah, and Israel. And may they be blessed with a long life together filled with good health, most importantly, good fortune, adventure, and peace, and that their love and friendship continue to deepen through the years. So for all of us, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, and Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, and Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, and Siman Tov. All right. So we're on page 18 in your prayer book. You want to go ahead and turn. And this is the song for Shabbat, the prayer for Shabbat, Lecha Dodi, which we mentioned before. And the last line of verse 2 says something really interesting. Sof ma'aseh ve'machshava tehillah. This is verse 2, the last line. And what it really means is the completion of the action has the original thought within it. So the idea is where we are right now, what brought us here has implanted in this moment the thought or the intention that brought us here. So everything that we do in our lives, we don't just end up here randomly. There was some seed that we planted, that we thought, that brought us to this moment. And in fact, that even what the rabbis say is in the creation of the world, that when God was creating the world, God had Shabbat in mind. That there was a sense all of this that we were going to create was not just happening just so it could happen, but it could happen so that Shabbat, there would be an opportunity for the creation to behold itself, to be present with what's here. So I want you to just take a moment and take a couple breaths and feel yourself here, that there's no accident that you're here, that there are so many factors that brought you here in this moment, and to fully embrace them and to let everything else go. Lecha Dodi, page 18.
Yalla la 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 lecha dodi, yalla la 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 lekrat kala, yalla la 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 panei Shabbat, panei Shabbat nikabela, yalla la 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 lecha dodi, yalla la 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 lekrat kala, yalla la 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 panei Shabbat, panei Shabbat Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad Hishmeyanu elam yuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shemo tiferet v'litilah Likrat Shabbat, lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava tehillah. boi v'shalom. Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, gam besimcha ubsola, toch emunei am segula, boi kala, last time, come on. Yalla la 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 kaduni. Yalla la 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 kadkala. Yalla la 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 b'nei Shabbat. B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Yalla la 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 kaduni. Yalla la 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 kadkala. Yalla la 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 b'nei Shabbat. B'nei Shabbat nikabela.
You're going to stand in a second. So before we move into the main body of our service, we want to acknowledge those who are here for a yard site or for mourning, whether you're tuning in virtually or here in person. And to you, we say, Hamakom Yenachem Etchem. May the Holy One comfort you and feel the strength of community and connection on Shabbat as we're here together. We'll begin the evening service with Baruch Hu on page 23.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach
You may be seated. Moshe, the handheld. Handheld. Oh, there it is. Okay, great. God of creation, page 26. Oh, we're going straight to the Shema. Okay. We're going to go straight to Shema on page 29. Before we enter into Shema, this is sometimes known as the watchword of our faith, kind of a major statement of belief. But what I want to encourage us today is to think about the Shema as inviting us into an experience. It's inviting us to experience this moment in ourselves as being intimately connected with each other, with all of life, with all of creation. So that when we're saying Shema, when we're saying that God is one, we're not talking about some kind of abstract presence up here in the sky that's only one. We're saying that everything in life, in creation, in us, outside of us, is all part of the same divine energy, the same presence that connects us all. So our experience of the Shema can be something that lets go of our sense of separateness and opens up to that place of connection. So I want to invite you, as we say each word out together with each exhale, that it becomes a kind of letting go into imagining ourselves as being connected with everything. And you may stand or sit according to your custom for the Shema.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu
Next page.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. Please turn to page 37 for Micha Mocha.
We're going to do a little round action too. We have Debbie Friedman style, right? We're going to have to separate though. You want to do women, men, you want to do right, left. What are we going to do here?
I'm not quite
Speechless.
Sure. I'm not quite sure. We can try from Debbie and Karen to the right there, from Steve.
All
Phillips
right,
onto
I'm
the-
taking from Steve this way. All right, ready? Everybody. Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai. Micha mocha ne'etor b'kodesh. Nora tehila. Osei felech. Osei felech. Just ask. Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai. Micha mocha ne'edar b'kodesh. Again. Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai. Micha mocha ne'edar b'kodesh. Tehilas, oh say felech, oh say felech.
V'ne'emar kifata Adonai et Yaakov u'galoi miyad chazak mimenu baruch ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael.
Amen.
Page 39, the third line, Ufros Aleinu, spread over us a sukkah of wholeness, of peace.
Ufros aleinu sukat shelomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat, sukat shelomecha. Yalla elalai, yalla elalai, yalla elalai, la 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 la. Yalla elalai, yalla elalai, yalla elalai, la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'porei sukat shalom, aleinu v'yakol amo Yisrael, v'yal Yerushalayim.
Amen. Page 41, Vishamru.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם, עוד היא לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השני שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
In a moment, we're going to pray the Amidah prayer, central part of every Jewish prayer service. And there is a custom, let me just grab this for a second. There's a custom that when we pray the Amidah, we take, before we start, we take 3 steps backwards and then 3 steps forward, and we bow as part of the prayer. And the way that the Talmud talks about this is it says that imagine that you are visiting a king, that you're, or a ruler, and you're taking 3 steps back and you're acknowledging the sacred place that you're about to step into this presence, and then you take 3 steps forward and you enter it. And it makes me think in, what we're going to read in the Torah tomorrow is actually about the Yom Kippur service, and specifically how the high priest would enter the holiest place, the Holy of Holies, and he had to go through so much preparation, and this idea that he went into this inner chamber and just had this very, very deep experience of God, of himself, however you want to imagine it. So what I want to invite us is, as we're going to do the Amidah this evening, as you're standing up, to take those, before we start, to take those 3 steps back and just imagine that you are about to enter the Holy of Holies, the holiest place possible. Imagine it. The Baal Shem Tov says imagination is the key to spirituality. It's being able to go beyond our sense of what we think is real and be able to open up to other possibilities. And so imagine, however you can imagine that holiest space, and then enter it and let your prayer come from that place. And just, it's an experiment. See what happens. So we'll start with Adonai Tzvatai Tiftach on page 43, and then you'll be able to join me in the first 3. Please stand.
Adonai Tzvatai Tiftach ufi gita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your glory.
Take those 3 steps back. Imagine the holiest place you can imagine. And then take a step forward into it. We're on page 45. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot Umevi Geula Lifnei V'neihem Leman Shemo B'Yahava Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. Next page. Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai Mechaye HaKol Atah Rav LeHoshia Morid Hatal Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Verofech Holim Umatir Asurim Umekayem emunato lishanei afar michamocha bal gevurot umido melach melech meimit umechayeh umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman ata lechayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hakol. Next page. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh ukdoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. You can continue silently all the way through to page 59. Take your time finishing your prayer, but when you are, you can take 3 steps back, like you are leaving that holy place.
Oh, say shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, imru amen. Oh, say shalom bimromav, Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom,
Shabbat Shalom. Nice to be here tonight together. We're very familiar that one of the core messages of Jewish tradition is choose life. Not only does this form the core of Moses' message in Deuteronomy, but every High Holy Days we pray to the God who desires life. And of course, we can't forget our favorite toast, L'chaim. I think if we want like a compendium of all of the core important Jewish ideas, go to Fiddler on the Roof, right? And if you remember the scene, to life, L'chaim. And our prophetic tradition also teaches that this affirmation of life is not just a message for our own people, but a call to create this life-affirmative world for all of humanity. And in our country today, this message is being perverted through state laws that challenge women's reproductive rights. Nearly 500 laws restricting abortion access has been passed since 2011. For over 40 years, the Hyde Amendment has denied abortion coverage through Medicaid and Medicare, as well as other government-funded programs, making it inaccessible for marginalized communities who already face huge obstacles to access abortion. And this has been on my mind for some time, but it was kind of a clincher this month when Oklahoma's governor signed a state law making providing abortion care a felony. So as Jews, it's important to understand the moral implications of these laws through the lens of our tradition. First, according to Jewish law, life does not begin at conception. The Talmud asserts that a fetus is mere fluid before 40 days of gestation. And the Talmud also teaches that following this period, the fetus is considered a physical part of the pregnant individual's body, not having a life of its own or having independent rights. The fetus is not viewed as separate from the parent's body until the onset of labor and childbirth. And since Jewish law doesn't consider a fetus to have the status of personhood, then it's impossible to murder a fetus through an abortion. Now, it's true that different religions believe that human life begins at different stages of development. Science can explain developmental timelines, but the philosophic or religious viewpoints largely determine what defines life or personhood for each individual. And since the First Amendment of our U.S. Constitution guarantees that no one religion should be enshrined in law or dictate public policy on any issue, then how we see abortion bans that are based on the faith proposition of mostly evangelical Christianity contradict this constitutional amendment. When we accept that different faith traditions have different ideas about where life begins, then we realize that calling the anti-abortion stance pro-life is only one religious framework. Right now, 6 states require that abortion providers tell the patient that personhood begins at conception during pre-abortion counseling. Laws that grant fetal personhood rights, which classify fertilized eggs, zygotes, embryos, and fetuses as people with full legal recognition and protection, criminalize pregnant people who want to take this route. Now, I would say that the pro-life position from the perspective of Jewish tradition is the support of the life of the pregnant woman. Since a fetus is not considered a person under Jewish law and doesn't have the same rights as one who is already living and functioning in the world, then the interests of the pregnant individual always come before those of the fetus. And health is interpreted by many rabbis throughout our tradition to encompass psychological health as well as physical health. Now, a few years after I came to Temple Bethel, a woman came to my office for counseling. And I listened to her story, and listening to it, I learned that she was raped as a young woman and tried to get an abortion in Florida. Besides the reality that the pregnancy was inspired by violence, She shared that she didn't have the support network to raise a child. She was struggling to just get her life in order and make ends meet. And when she went to get the abortion, she shared how she was forced to look at the ultrasound and how the doctor shared with her that she was terminating a life that would never have a chance to realize its hopes and dreams, and that the fetus would feel pain during the procedure. It turns out that 13 states include information on the ability of a fetus to feel pain in their counseling materials. And numerous reports in the Journal of the American Medical Association establish that the fetus is not capable of feeling pain until the third trimester, which begins at around 27 weeks of pregnancy. It's not until about 30 weeks of pregnancy that there's any evidence of brain activity. So the woman shared that while she was eventually able to get the abortion, the entire process took on a much took an already horrifying situation and layered on shame. While so much of her ability to make a life for herself came from the success of long-term counseling about all the issues surrounding the rape and her abortion, she had no doubt that if she had the child, she or the child would probably be on the streets. While we mentioned that the term pro-life reflects only one religious group's perspective of where life begins, the term pro-choice is falling out of favor by those who use it because for many, the choice to have an abortion is so limited that it doesn't seem like a choice at all. A patient whose life or health is threatened by their pregnancy, who can't afford an abortion, or doesn't have access to abortion care due to medically unnecessary restrictions, really doesn't have a choice. Without the ability to actually access abortion free from these limitations, the legal right to choose doesn't mean much. So the political and the legal realities of abortion in this country are complex, and they're worth learning about. The National Council for Jewish Women and the Center for Reproductive Rights are great resources to learn more about the situation and what ways we can actively support women's reproductive rights. And as we consider the situation at hand, I invite you to consider the role that women play in our lives and the world at large, and how women's lives and women's leadership are mostly about promoting and supporting life. As a Jewish community, our ability to thrive and to flourish in a mostly Gentile world is supported by a constitution that separates religious views from public policy. And while our Constitution is founded on honoring the inherent dignity of every individual, the biblical notion that we're all made in the image of God, and the moral strength of our very small group of people, has been a light into the nations. In his far-reaching sociological study, American Grace, Robert Putnam finds that most Americans admire Judaism more than any other religion. I believe it's because we've continued to speak up in this country about matters of ethics and conscience, and our message of l'chaim resonates with most of those who surround us. Shabbat Shalom. So we have a moment of our healing prayer to be able to bring those people in our lives into our space here, whether we're tuning in virtually or in person, those who need healing from physical illness, mental illness, or addiction. And what we'd love to do is we're gonna sing Debbie Friedman's Misha Berach, and there are two different verses to it. And what I'd like us to do is in the middle, this is a custom we did a long time ago here, but in the middle between the two verses, I would love for some people to open the ark, and we can say some names of people that we want to bring into our healing circle. Then we'll finish the Misha Berach with the ark open and go from there straight into Aleinu, and then we'll count the Omer. So Karen and Alice, do you feel comfortable coming up and opening the ark? Thank you, guys. And I'll give you the signal, but I'll tell you when you can stand right there. So.
מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
Any names that you'd like to bring? Go ahead and say them out loud. All at once. Sure, comes.
מי שברך אמותינו, מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Lenu's on page 64.
לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המנם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. So we're in the period of time before Passover and Shavuot where we count the Omer. And this is kind of likened to the journey of the people as they left Egypt all the way into receiving Torah at Mount Sinai. And it's become a time of self-reflection and character development. And every week of the Omer, there is a different midah, or a different quality that we focus on. And as we hit Shabbat this year, every time, we're culminating a certain quality. And the one that we're focused on tonight is the quality of gevurah. Gevurah means strength, but it's also very much about boundaries, the ability to set boundaries, healthy boundaries, to say yes, to say no, to make decisions, to be able to know when to hold back, to know when to move forward. This is all questions of gevurah, and through this whole week, we've explored all of these different aspects of setting boundaries. How do we set boundaries with kindness? How do we set boundaries with compassion? How can we be creative in the way that we set boundaries so that it might include the most people and not alienate people? How do we set boundaries where we're empathetic and able to really hear what's going on with somebody else? All of these elements of gevurah is what we are focusing on this week. So before we count, I just invite you to think about kind of that setting of boundaries in your life, whether it's with people in your family or work or whatever it is, and how you want to set those boundaries, how you want to step forward and do it more or less, how you want to do it with kindness or compassion. Now, the counting of the Omer is just a simple blessing. It's customary to stand, so I want to invite you to stand. It's the traditional formula with the ending al sfirat ha'omer, and then we'll count the day, which is going to be the 14th day. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. Hayom arba'a esrei yamim shehem shnei shavuot la'omer. Today is 14 days, which is 2 weeks of the Omer, on the way to Shavuot. You may be seated. In our synagogue family, we are in the Shloshim, the 30-day period for Shirley Seidman, mother of Rabbi Ben Zion Seidman, and Dr. Albert Gordon, the mother of our member Marvin Gordon. If I say the name of your loved one, please stand in honor of your connection to them. Even if you are tuning in virtually, you can also just stand in your own space in honor. We are commemorating the yahrzeits for Lillian Bader, Blanche Balaban, Leonard Bergstein, Louis Bitzman, Dottie Bronin, Leon Davidson, Harry Einbund, Florence Ice, Rose Elliott, Jordan Falco, Maureen Finley, Lou Finkelstein, Sidney Fisher, Bertie Fox, Doris Gale, Marilyn Goldban, Joel Goodman, Abe Grolnick, Margan Guinness, Elliot Guzovsky, Nathaniel Harrison, Gerald Helling, Sarah Heskin, Harriet Hicks, Nathan Hundert, Louise Jacoby, Loretta Kirshner, Phyllis Kramer, Toby Kramer, Dale Sue Levine, Hyman Levy, Katie Lieberman, Eva Liss, Arnold Manson, Raymond Marks, Edith Marshak, Leo Melman, Lester Meyer, Martin Morris, Elka Orlosarov, Albert Pardo, Francis Parnez, Adele Pizante, Carla Van Leeuwen Pollock, David Pollock, Samuel Reich, Sadie Rosen, Millie Rosenthal, Israel Shapiro, Elias Solomon, Melville Stern, Ben Vishnov, Lonia Wafel, Shmuel Yehezkiel, Victor Young, Sarah Farkas Zelowitz, Marion Zimmerman, my father Leland Weeder. Anybody else we're saying Kaddish for? Thank you. You can stand then. Mourner's Kaddish is on page 73. You may stand or sit according to your custom. Yitzgadal v'yitzgadash shemei rabbah v'alma divrach yerutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam omei omaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yit'halal shemei d'kudusha b'rechu le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechamata da'amiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for blessing. You may be seated. So before we share a little temple news, we just want to welcome some of our new folks here, Madeline and Bill. Can the folks who are on the board here, Steve and Evan, just raise your hands or just let them know if you want to at any time connect. Oh, and Debbie right here. So we've got 3 board members. If you want to talk and find out more about the synagogue afterwards, you're welcome to. All of our events can be found on, and the details can be found on the website. Our auction is live as we're getting ready for our gala. Go to our website and start bidding on wonderful items and experiences. And then our gala, The Golden Age of Television, is next Saturday night, May 7th. Ooh, I love it. At 5:30 a.m., great fun, food, live auction, dancing, all part of the evening. You can still RSVP. You can join us in person or on Zoom tomorrow for Saturday morning conservative services here in the chapel at 9:15. You can join the men's club with Winging It with Rabbi Kavod tomorrow night. At 7:30 p.m. it will be in the library. We have a really great group of guys, some wings, beer, some discussion about work and worth, our relationship to work. Our first Friday Shabbat festival is next Friday night, May 6th. Join us for festivities and food from 4 to 6 p.m., Shabbat service at 6. You can also register now for our next installment of Can We Talk? Understanding and Overcoming Polarization at a Time of Division. And this will be with Sasha Bonder of the organization One America and myself. And that starts May 17th at 7 p.m. And that can also be found on the adult education page. Shabbat Shalom. Let's, we can conclude together. We'll have a concluding song, but let's join together in Kiddush. There's little cups outside afterwards if you want to get a little bit to make a little l'chaim. But for now, please stand as we'll do Kiddush together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereishit ki hu yom tehillah lemikra'e kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'charta b'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha v'ahava uvratzon hinchalatanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat l'chaim.
Share?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
And there's challah outside too. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam motzi lechem min haaretz. All right.
Yavon.
Devon, we have a closing song.
Say shalom b'rama.
Say shalom aleinu. Can't get enough peace.
Yal kol Yisrael. Yal kol Yisrael. V'imru. Say shalom b'rama, u'ya'asu shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, amen. Yelelelele, yelelelele, yelelelele.
One thing we forgot before a big Shabbat Shalom is we have this wonderful custom of bringing challahs to people who are ill or going through, in this case, recovery from surgeries. So there is the name of the person with their address and phone number, and you can bring a little bit of Shabbat. It's a great mitzvah to to be able to share and do. So this particular challah goes to Mission Viejo, not very far from here. Anybody be willing to? Oh, we got two here. All right. I'll give you this one, Debbie. But the second one is Laguna Niguel. Anybody go to Laguna Niguel? Do it? Okay. Great. Thank you. Awesome. All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
everybody.
Shalom.
Thank you for making a
Have a
really
wonderful
beautiful
weekend.
Oh, yes. For those of you who are tuning in, unfortunately, our speaker this evening became ill. So our program on No Smiling Allowed will have to be postponed till another time. So apologies, but hope you got to join us for Shabbat services. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.